Welcome to Daily Wisdom, where every single day we seek to take a piece of God's wisdom and apply it to our everyday life. If you're following along with us, we are reading a Bible reading plan called The Essential Jesus, and you can find details about the reading plan and the Bible app, which we're using to follow along with it, in the description here on YouTube, in that description below. So all sorts of details are there for you to follow up on if you're interested in tracking along with us. Today we are reading in Psalm chapter 22, and we have been examining how the Psalms point to Jesus. And so we're going to get started this morning with Psalm chapter 22, starting with verse 1. My God, why have you forsaken me? Does that first part of that phrase, that question sound familiar? It may, because Jesus actually asked that question while hanging on the cross. So there is a bit of foreshadowing that we're experiencing here in this Psalm of David as it is quoted by Jesus on the cross. But let's continue reading. Why are you so far from saving me, so far from my cries of anguish? My God, I cry out by day, but you do not answer, by night, but I find no rest. Yet you are enthroned as the Holy One. You are the one Israel praises. In you our ancestors put their trust. They trusted you, and you delivered them. To you they cried out and were saved. In you they trusted and were not put to shame. To really understand what this psalm is saying and how we can apply it to our lives today, we need to understand why it was written. And see, this psalm is written by a man who is in deep trouble. He is deeply troubled. He is having extreme difficulty in his life. And maybe you have been in a situation like that yourself. In order to really understand what David's communicating in these words in the entire chapter, and I'd encourage you to read all of Psalm 22 to really understand it, you would have to have experienced a significant challenge in your life. You know, one of those challenges where it affects you completely, your entire being. It not only affects you psychologically, playing mind games with you, a challenge so difficult that it affects you psychologically and emotionally, where you are on a roller coaster. There are days, hours, and minutes where you are elated and then you are devastated. The kind of challenge that wrecks you physically as well, not just mentally and emotionally, but physically, your body. You are so challenged by the situation that you feel ill. I believe that's the kind of difficulty David was experiencing when he wrote this psalm. And how we can apply it to our life today is what did David do? In those verses we read together, David remembered. He reminded himself how God had been there for the people of Israel, his ancestors, how God had delivered his people over and over again. When they were in Egypt, they cried out to God and they were rescued. When they were in the wilderness, they cried out to God and their thirst was quenched and their hunger was fed. God cared for them. And friends, that is so good for us to remember. If you are facing a challenge in your life right now, a challenge that is wrecking you psychologically, emotionally, physically, any kind of difficulty, the first thing that we can do is remember. Remember what God has done in our past so that we can have hope for our future. It's a simple principle, but sometimes so difficult for us to practice. And I think it's a wonderful thing for us to keep in mind as we start our day-to-day. So do that. If you're facing a challenge today, remember how God has been there for you or maybe a member of your family. Remember the past so that you can have hope for your future in your situation today. That's today's Daily Wisdom. I hope you found this video helpful. If so, hit that thumbs up button. That'll help others to see it here on YouTube. And also, if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. This way you won't miss out on any of the readings that we share together as we study God's Word. We'll see you tomorrow.